There's no doubt at all. It was sort of it felt rather sort of less, I suppose, explosive in yesterday's hearing, because actually than the day before. Actually, a lot of what we heard about on the previous day was actually in that 55-page witness statement where we had in black and white exactly what he was alleging. But he underwent more questioning yesterday, and it was quite clear that he'd got I suppose, built his confidence up a bit, judging by what people were saying who were in the courtroom watching him, and not the actors on telly playing him. That actually, he was asking questions of the barrister, and the barrister, Andrew Green, KC for Mirror Group Newspapers, had to say a couple of times, I'll ask the questions, thank you.
Well, yes, and in a way, I suppose you could look at it and say, well, he'd gone through the first day, and actually probably went away thinking, right, I've done it now, and it feels a bit more comfortable around the surroundings. But clearly, at the end of the day, has he done enough to convince the judge, by his statements and after his cross-examination by Andrew Green, that actually there is a case, that he has a genuine case? Now, if he says he's got no proof, what he did also went on to say is that he believes lots of the evidence was actually destroyed a long time ago, so that's the reason why there is no actual proof of his phone being hacked. That's what he alleged in court yesterday. Yeah. So that is where it's all going to come down to. Yes, it was a much more assured performance, but in terms of, as he admitted, he's got no actual proof. And that's the thing. Therein lies the problem.
Again, one of the papers today reporting that he claimed that a tracker had been found on the car owned by his long-term girlfriend in his teenage years, Chelsea Davy, and therefore extrapolated from that his own car would have been tracked. But also, a lot of it is, well, this happened to this person, that happened to that person. But we've seen the 33 articles that were published. There are some of his, his claims are looking stronger, but some have been completely torn apart by the fact, that information we were discussing on the show yesterday, that information came from an article the day before, or that information came from a statement that Buckingham Palace had put out. On one occasion, it was actually an interview that Prince Harry himself had given. I'm amazed that those particular articles were actually used in the case by his own lawyers. They didn't say, look, no, that one's not going to stand up. But there was this interesting exchange with the KC, the barrister, Andrew Green, for Mirror Group Newspapers. He put it to the Prince, he was in the land of total speculation. And he was asked, he said there were no phone call records to back up his allegations. He said, are you aware of any evidence that gives any indication whatsoever as to the extent to which you were hacked, if at all? And Prince Harry replied, no, that's part of the reason why I'm here. And this is one of the issues with, talking about articles which are, some cases 20 years old. And, there isn't even a sort of a digital version of these articles. They're only available, in newspaper library files, and I can remember, having to go through those when I was a journo, starting out, 25 years ago or so. Lots of people are saying that, he performed well. The question is has he performed well enough to actually win his case? But the key thing there is we're not going to find out until, September at the earliest?
Indeed, this is a 7-week trial. Then the judge has got to pore through all what he's heard and analyse each day, basically, each moment, and come down with an opinion and work out as objectively. That's the whole point. We can all have an opinion about whether we think he performed well in court, has he got a strong case, but the only person he needed to impress was the judge. Yeah. But when you look at it, if he is saying, if you're just trying to be objective, that he hasn't got any evidence, then that is very hard, maybe, for the judge to say, well, yes, he did. But of course, there are other people who have taken issues to the court as well. So it's not just him. So it's a big case for the Mirror Group newspapers to defend. But ultimately, Harry's put his head well and truly above the parapet. He admitted it almost came about. He ended up doing this court case after being on a summer holiday with Elton John, and that's how he met his lawyer. So
those celebrities will talk among themselves, won't they? I mean, the other question I suppose that's also worth asking is does he need to win this court case? Look, he could end up paying millions in costs. He's got millions. He could just write another book and do another Netflix series, can he not? But he wants to win the court of public opinion. But he also, let's be honest, he also wants to change the British media. I mean, he's obsessed with the British media. He thinks the media is responsible for his mother's death and everything that's gone wrong in his life. And he wants to change the face of how the media operates. I mean, is he likely to achieve that?
Well, if he wins this case, then clearly he will feel entirely vindicated. It will then help him re-establish his standing in the British public eyes, because clearly he's been proved right.
Yeah.
If he wins this case. But that's a big if. And that's the big problem for him. Now, he's done it, he says, for the worthy reasons. He wants to protect his wife from endless intrusions and hate-filled articles, etc.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Intrusions, I mean, he's quite happy to intrude on the privacy of his wife and himself and his children, and indeed his brother and his mother, his stepmother and his father. I mean, he's quite happy to intrude on the most... I mean, to repeat private conversations after your grandfather's, and conversation with your father about his own father, at the funeral. I mean, I'm sorry, that's absolutely beyond the pale. And taking money for, revealing these things as well. I mean, even if this did happen, I'm not sure he's any better now. He has the right to invade his own privacy, we can say, but he's also invaded the privacy of other people who've expressly asked him not to do that.
This is his problem, because clearly he has been on a publicity fest, basically, call it what you will, since with the Netflix series, with Spare. And they're not frightened of appearing in public, as we saw in New York. And then, of course, it went a bit pear-shaped with the near-catastrophic car crash afterwards in terms of the fallout from that particular occasion. So this is where I think a lot of people are trying to understand, well, if he wants his privacy, then surely he must shut up, because once you put yourself out there, then you are leaving yourself open to people to find out, because once it's in the public domain, it's just what happens. So once people find you, if you're prepared to do it, then you've got to say, well, otherwise, but there are people interested as a result of what you've done.
Indeed.
And that's the point.
But I mean, he did make that distinction. It is a fair distinction. What is the difference between public interest and the interest of the public in terms of, let's have some tidbits about famous people's lives. But in terms of how this leaves here, I mean, he and Meghan will be patting each other on the back and saying, well done, yet another battle ongoing. How will this leave relations with Buckingham Palace? I mean, it seems to me that they would probably be quite relieved. I thought there would probably be quite a lot of squeaky bum time on Monday at Buckingham Palace, worrying about what he was going to say. But I'm not sure that anything he had to say damaged Buckingham Palace any more than what he'd already said.
No, I don't think. I think in many ways, most of it seemed to be focusing on his former girlfriend and the sort of incidents around that. In terms of the royal family, no, business as usual. Kate flinging a rugby ball around yesterday. The King's presumably coming back from Transylvania. Business as usual as far as the rest of the royal family are concerned. And that's very much been their sort of mantra from day one. They try and avoid getting involved in any way at all with the sort of Harry saga that is going on. And they will continue to operate in that way. And
the firm continues, doesn't it?